there became a time to say to Dad, I really want to be a footballer. He started writing letters to various clubs to give me trials. Arsenal Football Club, because we live closer to Arsenal. I just called into the office by one Mr. Tom Wally, and he just said, you know what we're looking for? Your journey ends here.
2023.
Yeah.
You had an event.
Yeah.
Ghana Party in the Park.
Yeah.
And you made a huge loss.
Heavy loss.
How much did you lose about it?
About 400k.
Pounds.
No cedis, no US dollars, pounds. Just like that.
There's a role that you have played in pushing the African music agenda in the UK.
There was a time that 80% of the lyrics in the music has to be English before we could put it on mainstream radio.
But your name is not in the story. Because when we speak about even Afrobeat in the UK, your name doesn't come in the picture.
My name has never been in the story. You must hear DJ Branch's name, but not my name.
You genuinely believe that fundamentally your role in December in Ghana has birthed Dirty December. You've worked with the likes of legend Daddy Lumba.
I've done 3 shows with Daddy Lumba, all in the UK. The 4th show I was about to do with him, with a day or 2 to go, he called me to say he's not coming. Your money's ready, come and pick up your money.
Refund?
Yeah, he gave me the money. At that time, I've already made a heavy loss. I remember we went as far as calling Asante Yini to intervene. We called Ose Kwame Despite to intervene because people have bought tickets to come to the show.
And he never came, even though you reached out to people, he still didn't come.
Yeah.
Any reason? I mean, how do you make the money back? You're welcome to Connected Minds podcast. My name is Derrick, and my guest today is Mr. Dennis Tawiah. He's the founder of Akwaaba UK, Miss Ghana UK, and the man that helped popularize Ghana music in the UK and created what a lot of us see as come back to Ghana for the Dirty December. We're going to discuss the part he played in that, his role in shifting the minds of a lot of Ghanaians in the diaspora to come back home, December times. Interestingly, there was a topic we were speaking about today, and he says that coming to Ghana those days was a punishment, but they made it cool to come back to Ghana. How are you doing?
I'm good. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. This conversation has been in the pipeline for a long time, right?
For a while.
Yeah, we've been, talking about it every time you come to Ghana. Yeah. But we found the time. Akwaaba UK.
Correct.
Now, it is not possible for us to talk about any conversation, personality profile, and whatever we choose to do without talking about money. So there'll be an aspect of this conversation where we're going to talk about money. So let's start from the young boy that was born in Osu. Now, I want to really get deep into the type of parents you had first.
Born and grew up in Osu to my father, James Kofi Tawiah, and my mother, Comfort Tawiah. My father was a called a barrister at law at the time, and he was also former chairman of Accra Folk Football Club. And my mother was, at that time, she was working in department stores and doing her own poultry farming and everything else alongside my father. So, that's the main.
So how many siblings do you have?
Altogether, we've got 14 siblings.
14?
14.
Same mom and dad?
No, not same mom and dad, but we call ourselves 14 siblings, 14 tight siblings. So we don't...
You don't separate?
We don't separate.
So in your household, was mom and dad living together in your household?
No, mom and dad were not living together. You know, dad had his place, mom had his place, and we moved in between.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was all in Osu, so it was just a walking distance, so it wasn't.
So did you grow up with your father?
I didn't see him a lot like I wished to, because he was a busy man, as well as having been a barrister at law. He had his own other businesses that he was doing. And then at the time, I also was going to boarding school as well. So it's only when you come on school holidays that you get a chance to see them, or when there's an occasion and they want you to join them, then you go and join them. But yeah.
So you spent most of your childhood with mom?
Of course, 100%, yeah.
And how many siblings were living with mom?
4 siblings.
So including you 4?
Correct.
Right. Now, mom also had a business that she was doing.
She had a business. She was, I think she was working at the time in GNTC. Okay. And then she also had a little poultry farm that she was operating on the side.
Right.
Yeah,
So, because I've seen the type of relationship you have with your kids. One of them came with you today, and it's beautiful to see that. So I really wanted to understand the type of relationship you had with your father. Is your dad still around?
He's not around. He's passed away.
Okay.
He's passed away. But I'll say one thing about it. I never wanted to be a better version of my dad. I look up so much to him, and for what he's done for all the siblings, especially moving us from Ghana to the UK, all 14 siblings. To me, that's great.
If dad was doing well in Ghana, why did he see the need to move you to the UK?
Political reasons.
Okay.
So, it was mainly political reasons. But I thank him for doing that, because I'm here today. I'm telling the story.
So then come the time when small boy Dennis Nosu loved playing football.
Love football.
And now you have to go to the UK. You said it's political reasons. That's the reason why you had to go. So it wasn't really by choice. You didn't say, I want to go to the UK.
I had no choice in traveling.
Right.
In fact, I didn't know I was going to travel.
Okay, talk me through that.
I was playing football, funny enough, at the time. And my sister called me to say, come have a bath. We're going out. That's all. And the next thing I know is I'm in the United Kingdom.
Okay, so talk me through the first time you landed in the UK.
I was scared. I was a bit scared. I didn't know where I was. I had no friends, From the minute I landed at Heathrow Airport, I was very scared. Even experience on traveling on the underground from Heathrow Tube Station all the way to my destination in Finsbury Park, I was scared. I've never been on escalators before. Could you imagine that?
How did you think life was going to play out?
I was crying most of the time when I was there.
You were crying?
I had a lot of times I was crying. I just wanted to come back. I just really wanted to come back. I've left friends behind.
Okay, so friends. What else was the reason why you wanted to come back?
I'm young. I didn't know what I was going into. Abaitey, whatever. It wasn't something that was for me. I didn't know much about it. So I was happy where I was.
How old were you at that time?
I think I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was 12 years old.
That 12, 13-year-old, what did you really want to become?
At the time, I badly wanted to be a footballer. As I said, because of my dad's connection with football and living in Osu, our house was not far away from the stadium. So I have my daily travel to the stadium to go and watch football matches all the time. And I didn't even want to go to school. I really wanted to be a footballer. And I felt I had a chance to be a footballer if I was here in Ghana. So
you felt that if you were in Ghana, you would have had a chance to be a
because
footballer.
at the time I was playing what you call coast football. At the time we had coast football, and then I was one of the talented kids. There was 2 clubs at the time that were after me, coast football team that were after me, and I remember trying to juggle the 2, and I thought, this is something good. And those days, those 2 football teams were 2 top teams. One of them was in Tema. It was called Harbour City. They were one of the big youth football team. And then the other one was in, I think, Accra King Pfizer football team. So I knew that those 2 teams being after me, it's like Manchester United, Manchester City back in the day. As a young boy, that's how I looked at it. So I knew that, I had a chance, as well as playing with my local friends in Osu as well. So I was spotted. And then I thought,
Okay, but what was your mom's education background?
I don't know much about mom's education background, but I know mom was hardworking, and that's one thing for sure.
Okay,
supporting that.
And then dad?
Dad had a very good education background. He actually schooled in the United Kingdom.
Okay, so I suppose his aim was, you go to school and then do something else.
Yeah,
right?
that's the aim for dad. All his children to go to school. And even when he took us to the UK, one of the things he made us do is make sure we all went to various schools. So for that, he wanted that, that journey that he's had, it giving his children the opportunity to go to schools in the United Kingdom.
But then how did you navigate not exactly doing what daddy wants you to become and becoming this version of Mr. Tawiah?
My dad was a very cool person, very calm person. His expressions are very less. And one thing I noticed about him, he would support you. When I told him school wasn't for me, in fact, at the time, he got to find out that I wasn't going to school. Because I'll always leave home in London. I'll leave home, I'm going to school, but then obviously you get a report that shows that I've not been attending school because I spend a lot of my time just out of school. You know,
What were you doing on the streets?
I remember moving from chip shop to chip shop, arcades. You know, it's one or two places that were just random places, going to friends' house, friends that were not even in school as well. And the only time I mostly the only time you see me in school is maybe school lunchtime when we're playing football. Then I'll go because everybody wants me to be on their side. So that was the only time I even go to school, just lunchtime, just to play football. Then we're not going to the class. So, you know, there became a time to say to Dad, I really want to be a footballer. And in fact, he helped me.
Wow.
Yeah, he helped me. He started writing letters to various clubs to give me trials. Colchester Football Club, Watford Football Club, Arsenal Football Club, because we live closer to Arsenal, QPR. It's quite most of the London teams. My father actually wrote letters, posted letters for me to get trials, and majority of them we did get response back. You know, so this is something that he did. He did for me, and I appreciate it so much. I remember, you know, one time even I had trials at Queen's Park Rangers. That was 1986, and that was one of the cold winters in the UK. My father would come with me at 8 o'clock in the morning all the way to 6 o'clock, standing there in his jacket. All that memories, I'm like, wow, Daddy, you just did that for me? Yeah.
I mean, with what? 14 siblings?
Yeah.
What number are you in the list of siblings?
I think I'm number 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm number 11.
Okay.
Yeah. My siblings are going to kill me if I
So, did Dad have time for every other sibling just as he did?
He did. Dad had time, and he thought about each and every one of us. You won't say it that way, but yes, Dad had time for everybody. Every one of us. That's what I'm saying. If I sit down here and think how 14 siblings ended up in the United Kingdom, that's there's not 3 or 4, all 14 of us ended up together in the United Kingdom. And not only just being in the United Kingdom, giving us the opportunity to go to school, to further our education.
But then, okay, so the time you finally dropped out, when did you realize that now football is not actually going to work?
When I got told I'm not good enough to be a footballer. I was with I managed to sign what you called YTS form at the time. YTS meaning Youth Training Scheme with Watford Football Club, and that's only for a period of 2 years. And the final year, I just called into the office by one Mr. Tom Wally, that I can't forget his name, and he just said, "You know what we're looking for? Your journey ends here," just like that.
How old were you at the time?
I think 14.
Wow.
Yeah, 14.
How did you feel?
I think I wasn't old enough to understand what was actually happening to me in terms of I was disappointed, yeah, but I was also thinking there's going to be another chance somewhere else. Yeah, honestly, I was that good of a footballer. I believe that I could get another chance somewhere else.
So from 14 to 18, what happened?
I started working actually after that. I worked in McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't my first job. My first job was also doing paper runs, just delivering newspapers early in the morning, and then £7 a week.
While you were still in school?
While I was still in school, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Most young boys at that time were doing that, delivering newspapers too.
Yeah.
And then, after that, I started working in McDonald's. And now when I started earning some money, and I decided to start buying records with the money I was earning from McDonald's, because I wasn't paying rent, obviously, mom and dad. So I was misusing the money. It wasn't a lot, but...
So there are some of our parents, a lot of my parents are going to be watching this, right? And they're probably around the same age as you.
Yeah.
And then they are thinking, how was life? They are reminiscing about how life was those times.
Yeah.
Talking about the newspapers and it being so cold. I think those times used to be really cold in life.
Very cold, yeah.
and the sort of life you had as a young person there. What was one of the most beautiful memories between that age of 14 and 18?
The freedom that you had, a freedom you had no responsibility. You're not responsible to anything. That freedom that I had. No bills to pay. Nothing to worry about. You don't worry about sending money back home. I don't even think there was no mobile phone for you to worry about anybody calling you. The freedom at that time was beautiful. No responsibility.
Then how did you used to stay in touch with some of your friends back home in Ghana?
I never.
You never did?
I never. Until I came back to Ghana, I never had any connection with any of my friends.
Okay. So now you've made money from McDonald's. Some small money.
Small money, yeah.
Now, talk me through the first venture you decided to start.
I started to buy equipment, musical equipment, because I did like music at the time. Even whilst I was here in Ghana, where we're living in Osu, we were surrounded by 2 nightclubs. So obviously, right in the middle of 2 nightclubs. So every night you just hearing music, playing music. So I was into music. So I started buying musical equipment, little speakers, little amplifiers here and there. And then obviously I was buying records as well, to play just for myself, just to own something.
Yeah.
So that's what most of my money went on.
What was the plan buying all those things?
Just for me to have it as myself, something to do. It was I had no vision. I didn't know what it was going to lead up to.
During those times, as an 18-year-old, or 17, let me just take it back to 17, 17-year-old in London, what were some of the activities that a lot of Black people used to do within our community?
There wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot we could have done except from going to youth clubs. Yeah. Those days, youth club was very, very popular. Or hanging out with friends on the street.
There were no community hangouts, like
there was no community.
Ghanaians coming together?
No. That was not there. No Ghanaian nightclubs, no Ghanaian restaurants. No.
Why?
I guess that generation was not ready for that. Or that generation wasn't made to that. In fact, that generation was the generation that's coming to the diaspora, work and send money back home. That's what it was like. People were doing morning cleaning. People were working as nurses and whatever it is, just working and sending money back home. So it wasn't about building what we have now. We have various nightclubs, we have various restaurants, we have various sports places you could go. That wasn't the case at that time. So no, community hangouts was not. In fact, the community hangout I remember was either you're going to church with your parents or there's a funeral and you're following your parents, you're going to that. That to me was more of a hangout.
So there was no like what we have today.
No.
You guys just indoors or outdoor, playing football, just activities, youth clubs, church, funeral. Yeah. That was it.
That was it.
All right.
Church and funerals played a major part in a lot of us growing up back then. Because we all know about Ghanaian funerals. Although it's a funeral, it's also
a party.
It's a party. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then, what was the transition from that to becoming a DJ?
I had a very good friend of mine called Moscamp. Moscamp was a very good friend, and he was a DJ as well. But not only just a DJ, Moscamp was also a producer. He was producing for 1 or 2 UK artists at the time. So in one of our meetings, I remember going to his house and I saw him with all his equipment that he had, the Technics turntable, the SunLab mixer, the microphone, everything else. And he was doing his thing. So I just trying to say, look, Mos, teach me. I want to be a DJ. Because I was buying equipment, but I was just buying it for myself. But then after seeing what he's done in his setup, I said to him, look, I want to be a DJ, so teach me. So that's how I learned how to be a DJ through Moscamp, who was the same person as well. Moscamp managed to take me to a group of guys, which leads to my next discussion, which is 90% His Squad, whereby there was 4 Ghanaian guys, which grew up to be 6 Ghanaian guys. We decided to come together, all our equipment, let's put our equipment together and start renting out to various people to use our equipment.
For funerals?
For funerals and also for parties. Back in the day, in that time, one of the biggest music scene at the time was a music called Acid House. Acid, like the...
Acid?
Acid, yeah.
Okay.
Acid House was the biggest thing at that time. It was the biggest thing it was driving the UK, the UK dancing was crazy. You go to places it used to be a place in King's Cross called Bradley Studios, so we used to take equipment there for them. Most promoters that were doing acid house music will rent an empty warehouse and they need equipment. So then obviously we would take our equipment there. So we were more like a sound system, just hiring out equipment to these big events in the UK at the time.
And these were the 6 people were all black boys?
At the time, no, we were only 4 at the time.
Four, right.
So it was myself, Mr. Trips, Mr. Shooks, Moscamp. That was the 4 of us. Then later on, we became 6 when we had Harry Blackash, and then we had DJ Branty as well. So then we became 6. So from being a sound system, now we're moving to what we call the DJ world, because now we started DJing ourselves, putting on our own events together.
Okay, so the 4 of you,
Yeah.
your plan was just to hire out the equipment that you
That's
had.
all.
What, for profits?
Yes, for
Right?
profit. Yeah, we were making money.
Okay.
We were making money.
Like, you had no other thing that you were doing? You guys were not working regular jobs?
No. We had jobs. I know 1 or 2 of them had jobs. I know, I think Mr. Trips and Mr. Shooks at the time were working in John Lewis. I didn't have a job. Moss had, like I said, he was a producer, so he's doing 1 or 2 other things as well.
How old were you at that time? You remember?
I think I'm just 19, just about to be 20
Okay,
years old.
so like a 19-year-old,
Yeah.
You're still living with your parents?
Yeah, I was still living with my parents, yeah.
And you were not working?
I wasn't working.
Not in college? Not in uni?
No.
Okay, now I think let me bring you back
Yeah, go
to you deciding that you not even want to go to university.
It wasn't by choice. It wasn't meant for me, honestly. It was not meant for me. And I know mom and dad were disappointed, but it wasn't meant for me. Mom and dad had other siblings that were going to school, so it substituted for that. But it
Right.
wasn't for me. But they never turned against me or anything like that.
Yeah, but how did you envision your life was going to be? Because you've come to the UK.
Yeah.
A lot of the parents that you saw were doing menial jobs,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And their aim was that their kids will go to school and become doctors, nurses, lawyers, But then you chose that. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that.
But how did you envision that your life was going to be at that time? Take you back to that time.
I didn't think of anything. I was just going with the flow. That's the truth of the matter. I was just going with the flow. And I was so happy just playing music or renting out my equipment. I was happy. I didn't see the future.
Like, I'm shocked they didn't ship you back to Ghana at that time.
No, I'm sure it was a conversation, but no, it didn't. They didn't. They didn't think about it now. They did. Which normally, if you're not doing well, it forms part of the discussion. We're going to ship you back to Ghana. I wish they did anyway, because I really wanted to come back to Ghana.
So you at 19, 20,
Yeah.
if I spoke to your mom and dad today
Yeah.
and asked them, okay, so how is, the young teenager, Dennis, how is he? What do you think they would have said about you?
Mom and dad, he's a great boy. He's a wonderful boy. He's a good boy.
Even though you were not in school?
Yeah. My mom and dad would back me to the grafters. Anything they would do. They never turned against me because I didn't do well. They never.
Like, I'm looking at the man you've become today, achieved so much for a culture, for a country, and for a genre.
Yeah.
But practically had no dreams.
No dreams at all. My dreams were shattered when I wanted to be a footballer and it didn't happen. That was my dream. And let's be honest, in the UK at the time, to be a footballer, you got to be young. It wasn't whereby now you could even go through the non-league runs like someone like Ian Wright did. He played non-league football and then he got spotted by Crystal Palace. And you have to go through that system. The minute you get dropped out, that's it. You have to find your own way.
Okay, let's get back to the 4 of you and your dreams of, making profit from hiring.
Yeah.
And I think I've worked with Moscamp before.
Yeah.
He's done some shows where
Excellent.
we've
Legend.
been involved.
Yeah.
How did the 4 of you translate into 2 additions?
Easy. 4 young Ghanaian boys that was doing something towards the Ghanaian community, playing at funerals, weddings, christening at the time. We were proud. But then there was a turning point, which is all part of what we've established, 90% Hit Squad. We became a household name in the UK when it comes to entertainment.
How did you do that?
Just by playing music to Ghanaians, and then from playing music to Ghanaians to then the African community gripped onto it. Because if you remember back at that time, if you're African, you're not cool. And an African person like ourselves trying to get into an establishment whereby there was another community there, the Caribbean communities were already there. For us trying to step into that scene, that entertainment scene was a no-go. We got turned away everywhere we went. Everywhere we went, we got turned. The only people that took to us was the Ghanaian community at the time. And also I'll go as far as to say all the ACS, the African Caribbean Society, and all the various universities, they played a key role in 90% as well, because now, whether it's Brunei University, whether it's TVU, Coventry, Kingston, all the ACS were booking 90%. These are, young Ghanaian.
We're playing Acid House.
We didn't play, we're not playing Acid House, funny enough.
Okay.
We never did. Acid House, we just renting to the promoters. We never played Acid House.
Right.
We never.
So when you were going around, you were playing African music? Oh, what were you playing?
We're playing R&B.
Okay.
Bashment. Back in it, we call it soul, revival, rare groove, jungle. There's too many music we were playing at. Swing beat, Miami bass. Yeah,
okay.
Hip hop.
Okay, hip hop. Yes, I know. Hip hop.
Yeah,
right.
hip hop. That's what we were playing at the time, and we were up against some strong household names, like you had the Rampage, you had the Boogie Bunch, you had Tim Westwood. At the time was a legend, David Wadigan, David Pierce, some big names, and these 4 young Ghanaian boys out there trying to do our own thing. And we got accepted very well by the African community. And I keep saying the African community as in general, but I would say the Ghanaian community. They were super proud of us. That generation at that time were super proud of what we were doing. And we were doing a lot of house parties as well. Until one day we decided to say, look, we're going to put together our own event, which was Ghana Independence. And
what year was this? What was the first one? The first one you guys did?
I think the first one we did was 1992.
God, I was 2 years old.
You're joking, yeah. 1990. I think we did that, alongside, may his soul rest in peace, there's a gentleman called Sammy K. Sammy K was at the time, he was also a DJ. Sammy K, DJ Francis. There's a few people. And then Big Joe, a gentleman that we call Big Joe, Nakasi Records. At that time, he was doing records. He was shipping records from Ghana and then distributing them in various shops at the time. So we all came together and we held Ghana Independence at a place called Shinola's Nightclub. Shinola's Nightclub is now what I would say Westfield in Stratford.
Okay.
That's like Westfield was. And 3 massive arenas full of Ghanaians. I think there was about 4,000 Ghanaians there.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first one you did?
The very first one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Konnected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation. While you were speaking like a 19, 20-year-old young boy, when I was 19, 20, the things I used to see in London was people moving out of London to buy homes in Essex, in
Milton Keynes.
Those were the things I was seeing.
Yeah.
So for me as a young person, it was something I aspired to also do.
Yeah.
Now, these 4 people you started working with as a group, and the other friends you had, what were the conversations you were having about money? Apart from the fact that, you just want to be DJs, cool DJs.
We were cool DJs, but the popularity was also good, whereby we were popular within the community, people calling us, booking us, we were mini celebrities. You know, there was a time we all had the same jackets on, the same t-shirts on. When we go into places, you know, we had a 90% jacket, and it looked cool.
So you're not really thinking about, you know, let's put some money together. I want to buy a house at that age. You're not thinking about all those
One
things.
of the many mistakes I did, because the amount of money I was making as a DJ, I should put some money away. I was making some good money as a DJ. Instead of spending more on buying more records or buying more equipment, it's a mistake I've done. We all make mistakes.
But I mean, there are young people watching you today.
Yeah.
There are people who have come through the whole Akwaaba group. There are people you've trained. There are people you've put on set
Of course.
that are, you know, popular today.
Yeah.
So what do you tell them?
I wouldn't want them to make the same mistake I did. It was a big mistake, because if you see the amount of money we were making, look, there was a time, Monday to Sunday, 90% we were playing at. When there was some days we had 3 events, moving from A to B, earning some good money from it. Very, very good money at the time. DJs were getting paid good money. It's not like now you have an event and you have about 6, 7 DJs. No, at that time you just book that one DJ, you come and do your warm-up, your main set, and then your, what you call your slow jam set. That's what 90% of that. So we were making good money as a group. Why we didn't save, I don't know.
There is a man who became part of the 6.
Yeah.
That will be instrumental in some of the things we are going to discuss.
Correct.
But before we do that,
Yeah.
I just want you to tell me a bit about how he actually joined the group, DJ Abaitey.
DJ Abaitey, his name was Simon at the time, Simon Boyton. He was a friend. He's a friend of the group. When we're playing out, he always comes along with us, you know, help us with our record boxes, our speakers, which I mentioned to, we used to rent out, you know. So he was around, but he wasn't part of the initial 4. And the more the bookings were coming in, we couldn't handle the bookings. In fact, like I said, from Monday all the way to Sunday, there was somewhere we had to go and play. And it only made sense that we said to you, at the time, his name wasn't even Abaitey, his name was Simon. Said, Si, you know, come and be part of the group. You know, because he was already around in the back, behind the scenes. He was already around. You know, he was going everywhere with us. So it was only right for us to say to him, look, Si, come and be part of the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about how from that group,
Yeah.
you now became what we have today as Akwaaba,
Yes.
which is what most
Yeah,
people know you
yeah.
as. But then also the other aspect is how DJ Abaitey had to branch off.
Okay.
So maybe let's stick to what 90% did all the way through to Abaitey's you know, breaking off,
Yeah.
and then we come back to pick your success in putting together Akwaaba.
Yeah. 90% carried on doing what we're doing, playing out at different places. All the big events in the UK, 90% was involved. Whether it's an R&B concert, whether it's a carnival, whether it's a promoter doing whatever they're doing, 90% was part of it.
Yeah.
Abaitey and then Black Ash, Harry, they became part of the group. So now from being 4, we became 6. And we kept on, you know, DJing, and everybody had to have a name. So even the name Abaitey came from 90%. 90% gave the name to him, DJ Abaitey. Obviously, we all I go by the name of Radical D. Then you got Mr. Shooks, you got Moscam, you got Trips, you got Black Ash. We all had names, you know. We couldn't use our real name. I can't go and say I'm Dennis Tawiah DJ now. Mm-hmm. So that's how even the name DJ Abaitey started from.
There's a role that you have played
Yeah.
in the African community in the UK.
Yeah.
That I'm aware,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't be the one to tell the story. So I really want you to speak on your role in pushing the African music agenda in the UK.
We, as a group, 90%. Alongside, there's another group, I have to mention the name.
Yeah.
2 groups. I can't speak without mentioning Black Knight Crew. They were Nigerians. And also PMP, another Ghanaian group that was alongside us. In fact, we just made it fashionable for African music to be accepted, because we were playing it now. At the time, before, you couldn't play African music. But once we were doing our set, we had the chance to play 1 or 2 African music in there. From just only playing Sweet Mother at the time, now, we began to play the A.B. Crenshaw, Adrian Yankee, Amachi the Days and everybody else. We began to put that into our playlist. And then other people were taking notice of it as well. But it was still a struggle. The main industry was not, they're not welcoming us.
But how were you able to get your feet in there?
It's by what we did. We became a force. I'm not sitting here just making. There's a generation that will tell you 90% was a force when it comes to it. We had our following. So at the end of the day, let's just say other promoters who at the time were against us. When I say no, these African brothers are doing well. Let's join forces with them. Let's invite them in. Yeah, that's they had no option because, like I said, the ACS, all the African Caribbean societies that were booking us, things spread. Things spread, and it was spreading, and you had no choice but than to. We were a major force at the time, major force.
Even in our time when we were doing music,
Yeah.
We struggled to get our music on radio.
Yeah.
You guys were doing all the parties, you were doing all your events and all those things. But how did you penetrate into the radio system?
What we're enjoying right now, African music being played on mainstream radio in the United Kingdom, we 90%. We approached Choice FM at the time. Choice FM was the main urban black radio station for everybody. We put an advert on their station, 1997. We were doing a concert for Kojo Entry at Broadwater Farm in North London, Tottenham. And when we took our 30-second jingle to Choice FM, which we were paying for them to play it on air, they only called us back to say, look, we can't play your jingle. Reason being, you got African music playing behind it, and it's not on their playlist. So the hard work to change, go back to Choice FM, get a new recording done, make sure we don't have Kojo Entry music on there. We couldn't challenge them, by the way. The establishment was like, no, you cannot play African music. So it took us about a good 10 to 12 days just to get this 30-second jingle, which now you could just do it over your mobile phone, book a studio, get somebody to do the recording, master it, and then drive all the way back to South London and put it and get it played on air. That hurt me at the time because I didn't even think it was. I didn't think it was a big deal for Choice FM, but they turned around and said, no, they cannot play it. So from 1997, I remember me and Mr. Shooks always said, no, one day we get a chance to play our music on the mainstream radio. At that time, we had other community radio stations as well. We had we call it pirate radio station, but yeah. So we had the pirate radio stations that were playing Ghanaian music, but not on the mainstream. So our job was to make sure, look, now that we have a voice as 90%, we will make sure one day we get onto the mainstream radio station. So we kept on lobbying Choice. Until one day we got hold of it that there's a license to be given for North London. At that time, Choice FM was only based as a South London radio station. So then we went back to Choice and said, look, we'd like to play African music. We'd like to be the representation of African music on the radio. We did a demo tape, gave it to Choice. I still got a demo tape as of today. Yeah, I still got it. 90% hit score, Choice FM. And within 24 hours, I got a call from a very good friend of mine, Mr. Wayne Turney, called us to say, look, guys, you've got a job. Come start playing music on Choice. That's it.
Oh, there were 6 of you.
There were 6 of us.
So how did you do it?
We always split the job up. All 6 of us couldn't be on Choice. So we selected for Moscamp, Mr. Shooks, and Mr. Brancher to be the face on Choice.
Right. So you put 3 of the members from 90%.
Yes.
To go on Choice FM.
That's it.
And these times, DJ Brancher was one of them.
DJ Brancher was one of them.
So you would say this was the introduction of DJ Brancher to Choice FM.
That's correct. Huh. That is 100%. 90% had a show. We had our own show on Choice FM, African show. In fact, there was 2 African shows on Choice. There was 90%, and then we had another gentleman called Uncle Sam and Atapi. They also had,
So then that means that, well, from what you're saying, then the reason DJ Abaitey ended up even on Choice was because of the group he was part of. 90%.
DJ Abaitey was part of 90%. 90% gave birth to DJ Abaitey.
Right.
So let me make that statement here. He gave, but let's give credit to DJ Abaitey as well.
I mean,
let's give him his flowers. If I think of the journey with Choice FM, when we first went to Choice FM, the time which we were playing on Choice FM wasn't the best of times. It's what we call graveyard shift. It's from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. when everybody's asleep. Yeah. So that was being done for years. Then it moved down from 2 to 4, then 12 to 4. No, 12 to 2. So each time it kept on coming down, the time-wise. So obviously now we're getting more attraction, more of a regular time. DJ Abaitey, brilliant. He stuck to it. He introduced the Afrobeat show to Choice. And I always give him credit from sticking from where we started from to where he took it to. And you got to give him that credit.
Akwaaba.
Yeah.
When was it born as part of your journey?
Akwaaba was born in 2001.
Okay. Now, talk me through the journey of saying, this is the 4 of us, the 6 of us.
6 of us, yeah.
We're doing some business together.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to set up, do something on my own.
When 90% we decided to go our separate ways, everybody kept within the Trips was still producing music and doing his engineering. Moskamp, I've always said, has always been a legend, doing what he needs to do. Mr. Shooks was doing wonderful things as an MC. Black Ash at the time was one of the best MCs when it comes to the jungle scene. Abaitey is also on Choice doing the Afrobeat show. I just had to do something, and I remember speaking to my close friend and my partner at the time, Clifford Opoku. We said, why don't we do an event together? So we talked. We didn't even know what name we should have called the event at the time. And then 2 or 3 days before the event, we decided to say we're going to call the event Akwaaba.
Okay.
I've always been Ghana. Everything about me has always been Ghana. So the name we could have come up with was Akwaaba. And that's how I come.
Could have been Obake.
It could have been. It could have been. It could have been. But I remember the name Akwaaba because when you get off the plane at the old airport, the first sign you see is Akwaaba, So I think that was the year I came back to Ghana.
Okay.
Oh, no, 2 years before I came back to Ghana, so apologies. So I remember that sign, Akwaaba. I remember reading the Akwaaba magazine on Ghana Airways plane. And so we just said, let's call it Akwaaba. But it was not only just me and Cliff.
Okay.
We had Emilio from West Coast.
Yep.
We had my right-hand man, Eben,
Yep.
Design, Entertainment and Jam Promotion. Then I had another good friend of mine, DJ Fire.
Yep.
And there's 1 or 2 others.
Was Eben's brother also part of it?
Yeah. Obviously, he's next to Eben as well. So, again, it became another 6 Ghanaian guys who set up Akwaaba.
Then how did you break off from them again?
We didn't break off. Eben has always been around us up to today.
But then he has his own company.
He has his own company. Me and Eben as well had another company called Jam Promotions, whereby we were doing events for non-Ghanaians. And Fire and Cliff ended up returning back to Ghana. At that time, they returned back to Ghana. Emilio went on to produce West Coast and is still now doing West Coast.
Yeah.
So we all came from the birth of Akwaaba. I started with Akwaaba doing events upon events until now, still doing Akwaaba. But now it's a bigger brand than when we started.
Okay, so we've spoken about a lot of things in the UK.
Yeah.
Now, during these times when you started doing the Akwaaba events, there are a lot of young Ghanaians. There were times when, even when I was in college, it wasn't cool to be Ghanaian. It wasn't cool to be African, right? Over time, very quickly it changed because people like yourselves started creating awareness, started creating events for us communities for us to, join in and, meet each other, have conversations.
Yeah.
Now, there was something we were discussing, which is, Ghana was a punishment for a lot of young people. I personally know young people who were sent back to Ghana because of how they were in the UK at the time.
Yeah.
Now, talk me through how this was the case, during the times when you started Akwaaba, and how that has changed over time, as you can see.
When we started Akwaaba, I mean, one thing we got was the sense of belonging. We had it before at 90%, but this time now, like how you say right now, you have the Gen Zs. Now we had the millenniums at the time. So we know that, oh, wow, there's a sense of belonging now. It's so cool now to be Africans. We're not being accepted. But one of the things that strikes us is that, look, people were so proud and popular. Anything you put out there, Ghana Independence Dance, any Ghana event, the turnout was massive. Excellent turnout. So it then became, why don't we change that narrative and bring it back home? Because also we've also learned something once we're in the UK. We as 90%, I'm going back to 90%, some of our bookings were not just in the UK. We were getting flown out to places like Tenerife, Ibiza, Greece to play at events. So when we look at that scene, that nightlife scene over there, I thought to myself, I could introduce that to Ghana. Because, like you said, whenever you're in the diaspora, they mentioned to you at the time, we're sending you back home to Ghana, it was a punishment. It was a punishment because that means you've done something wrong, right? We're going to send you back home to Ghana. You see you're shaking. Most of my friends that it happened to, I know one friend that ran away from home, even wanted to come and stay with me. I'm like, I'm staying with my mom and dad and my sister. How can you come and stay with me? But yeah, they're going to send him back home. So that fear of going back home made me realize that no, I could change that narrative. I could change the mindset of people because there's me as a DJ being flown out to different countries to DJ. Why can't I come do the same thing in Ghana? So I remember coming to Ghana, linking up with a radio station at the time called Vibe FM. It had the likes of Michael Cook, Giles Bosman, Kwame Fachi. The list goes on and on. But Vibe FM at the time was a household radio station here in Ghana. So my friend Cliff and then another great pioneer of mine, Alan Osesibe, DJ Fire, we came together to say, look, why don't we do the return to Ghana? And then we gave birth to December in Ghana. That's how it started. So the collective group of us, with a generation at the time, we still call ourselves, I think there's a name we call ourselves, Bel Air Group. The name Bel Air Group came from a nightclub that we used to go to in the UK. So that generation, we call ourselves the Bel Air Group. We all decided to come to Ghana. And
does this remind me of when there was an airline called Ghana International Airline?
This was even before Ghana International.
Right. And then there used to be, I don't know whether you were the one that used to do it.
We used to charter a plane.
Yeah, to come to Ghana.
Yeah.
Were you part of the people that...
Of course, myself, again, Alan Osesibe, I've just mentioned his name, Richmond and Mavis Ajikum. And we chartered a flight with Alpha Travel, Astros Airlines, and then I think we moved on to another airline, I can't remember. But it was for a period of time we were chartering planes for people to come from the UK to come to Ghana. Because Ghana Airways I think was traveling maybe once a week or twice a week. So we had to find other means to convince people to come to Ghana. Yeah, so that's when we started doing chartered airlines to Ghana.
And the plan was simply to bring the exact same thing we were doing in the UK.
Yeah.
You were doing in the UK to Ghana in December.
Team up with nightclubs, team up with a radio station like Vibe FM to throw the biggest New Year's Eve party at Independence Square. Yes. Sponsored by a company called Space Phone, which is now, So Vibe FM crew, they played a major part when we came. They were the ones that were working alongside. They were our partners.
And your plan doing that was to make it cool to come to Ghana? To make it
cool to come to Ghana, to make it, to create a nightlife scene here. Because we experienced already, when we go to Tenerife, there's a place called the Strip in Tenerife. In one night, you could go to about, say, 10 different clubs, hopping from club to club. So that concept that I had at that time was to bring that back here. It wasn't easy because at the time, I think the nightclubs there, Boomerang nightclub, Bus Stop, one of the greatest club Ghana's ever had, man. Boomerang. We had Celebrations, we had Office, we had Glenn's nightclub. So we teamed up with all of these nightclubs. And I must give a big shout out to Kiki Bansin, Duke Bansin, Ampe, Glenn's, and quite a lot of people that obviously welcomed us alongside Vibe FM. And every December, we were doing something.
How do you think, your involvement has shaped how the diaspora are now coming to Ghana today?
Massive. Had I not contributed, had I not booked all these boundaries, had I not made it fashionable with the vision I had at the time, I don't think we would be here where we are now with what we're experiencing. Because breaking all these boundaries, making it fashionable, creating that nightlife scene. We also gave opportunity to DJs in Ghana. Whenever you hear Akwaaba is coming to Ghana, most of the DJs here, they want to be on the bill. They want to follow where Akwaaba. It was cool. Before it wasn't. But it was cool. The nightlife scene kept on growing. Nightclubs like Aphrodisiac were coming through. Firefly. I can mention so many nightclubs, but nightclubs were coming through whereby you still had the old nightclubs like Boomerang, some of them I've already mentioned.
You genuinely believe that fundamentally your role in December in Ghana has birthed Dirty December?
Yes, the contribution I made, because you got to remember, this is something we were doing. We had a nightlife now in Ghana. I didn't give the name Dirty December. I didn't give the birthday. December in Ghana, diasporans coming to Ghana was something that I know that the contributions and the belief and the confidence I had to do it year after year since 1999 without a break has played a major part. And I'm happy for Dirty December as well, because Dirty December, again, is taking us to the Gen Z situation whereby other countries, other people are benefiting. Ghana is benefiting. Ghana is winning, but other people too also winning. So it comes back to the name of Dirty December. I don't have any problem with the name Dirty December. I still call my event December in Ghana anyway. But I think it's cool, sometimes to label things as well. There's nothing wrong with it.
This is like the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
But I remember times when chartered flights were taken to Ghana.
Yeah.
People were paying into it.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll come to Ghana, and I wasn't able to come some because I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But your name is not in the story.
My name has never been in the story. I don't know why. You know what? I'll be honest with you. A lot of people don't want to give credit where it's due. A lot of promoters, a lot of DJs have come through what I've established. I've come through what I have contributed towards to. I keep saying the word paving the way. By me booking XYZ DJ and putting them on an Akwaaba event, also gave them endorsement. As well as giving them endorsement, they also form their fan base. Don't forget, they're all good DJs. They're all good promoters. We are now all sharing the same space. But a lot of people don't want to give that. This is the guy. I don't even look at it as me. This is the guy. I prefer the credit to go to 90% and Akwaaba. The two. I can never tell my story without mentioning 90%. If 90% didn't give me the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience that I went through, I wouldn't even think I would have carried on doing Akwaaba.
Why do people struggle to give you that credit?
It's life. Sometimes you have to tell your own story. It's up to you to tell your own story.
Because when we speak about even Afrobeat in the UK,
yeah,
your name doesn't come in the picture.
Yeah. But you must be your DJ Branch's name, but not my name. But if I'd not done that demo tape to go onto Choice FM, finding the right music to put on Choice FM, because another challenge we had with Afrobeat music, what people don't understand is there was a time that 80% of the lyrics in the music has to be English before we could put it on mainstream radio. So I had to do my research, listen out to music that could be able to. I think I used one of the music I used at the time. I think it's Wuta, Sweet Dreams.
Okay.
If you listen to Wuta, Sweet Dreams, majority of the lyrics in there is mainly English. Let's not forget we had the Francophone music at the time. Before we had the Magic System. we had Awilo, we had Papa Wemba, Joseph Ndor. The list goes on. But the Francophone music was just, was not being played on mainstream radio at the time. So if I think of all of this and the challenges and us not being accepted, you can't play African music in nightclubs, and I'm like, nah.
Well, I mean, it's one thing you personally and your group not getting the credit.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when the entire Ghana doesn't get a credit for its contribution to Afrobeat.
Ghana needs to get a credit. Ghana needs to get a credit. Wherever Afrobeat is come, I'm not sitting here saying Afrobeat came from Ghana. No. Wherever Afrobeat has come from, some is being good for Africa. Whether it's from Nigeria, which we all believe to be, they've played a major part. The Nigerian artists have played a major part. Look, I will sit down and say that song from the band, Oliver Twist.
Okay.
Oliver Twist.
But even before you talk about Oliver Twist, right?
Yeah.
Take it back to Ben TV time.
Ben TV,
OBE time.
TV,
when we had Tongolo.
Yeah.
We had Styles Plus.
Yes.
Olufumi. We had
Tony Tetula.
There you go.
You had Two-Face.
Yep.
Tony Tetula, Two-Face, that combination, Ghana, Nigeria. We had Two-Face, another, You're My African Queen. Again, if you listen to the lyrics, there's a lot of English in there. So I think that time, African was ready. African was ready, and the Nigerian artists played a major role. I'm not going to sit down here.
So recently, there was, before we talk about some of the artists you've worked with, and, we'll talk about some of the challenges, the money aspects. There was a Nigerian promoter.
Okay.
Who was in Ghana, had an interview, and said that majority of Ghanaian promoters in the UK are practically, he used the word lazy.
That's very cheap of him. Very, very cheap of him. Let me start off by giving some credit to some of the Nigerian promoters I've worked alongside. Solomon Savage, one of the greatest Nigerian promoters. Not many people talk about him. Solomon at that time was putting on good R&B shows. All the big artists from Mary J. Blige to Jodeci, Keith Sweat, Father MC. Solomon, as a Nigerian promoter, was doing that. Then we had the likes of Abbas.
DJ Abbas.
Then we had the likes of KC. Yeah. And let me even go further and give Nigerian Corner the kind of something which I've wished even Ghana we had. Nigerian Corner, Ayo and his team. Black Knight, JGC 419. I mean, there's a lot of Nigerian promoters that I've worked with, and they've been good. How can I even forget Cocoa Bar? Cocoa Bar played a major part.
Factory 78.
There you go.
Lanray, DJ Lanray.
Here we go. You see the roles in which Cocoa Bar is played. I don't hear a lot of credit being given to Cocoa Bar as well. But these are household Nigerian promoters that were also doing great stuff. They took it to the next level. Yes. They took it to the next level. So to hear a fellow promoter who has not even been through the struggle, he wasn't there when we were being told you're Africans, you're not allowed to come to the nightclub. African Boo Boo, where was he? Did he know the struggle that we had to do to make it fashionable? Even in the industries, going to some of the record labels, does he know what it took as 90% as a group to be going to nightclubs, getting 10 away, to be going to venues, getting 10 away to where we are today? So if he's got a platform, instead of giving us credit, which I'm giving credit to all the Nigerian promoters out there, why come and call a cheap shot and say Ghanaian promoters are lazy?
He seems to always be punching you.
All the time. Yeah. Every time he gets a chance to give an interview, he has a date. I'm sorry. Brother, you didn't go through what we went through. You just came along, pick up the pieces, and you've done a good job. All your connections, what you're doing, you've done a good job. But please stop punching Ghanaian promoters. Because most Ghanaian promoters, I know myself, Alodia, West Coast, and the new ones that are coming through, majority of our investment is our own private money. So whereby you've been gifted with the numbers you've got, with the brilliant artists you've got, and you're doing well, encourage the next people. Rather than saying Ghanaian promoters are lazy. That's a cheap talk. That's for him just trying to get some clout. And it's always been that way, trying to make himself look cool. Like he's the one who's giving birth to all this Afrobeat that is going on. He was not there. Was he there when we got turned away from the radio station? Was he there? No. Did he even know how come Afrobeat music? Did he know the struggle DJ Brent here had to go and make sure it's playing from playing 4 a.m., 2 a.m., 12, and sticking through? Come on, let's give people the credit where it's due. That was just a cheap comment by him. Very cheap. And I'm disappointed in him.
This promoter works with some of the Ghanaian artists as well.
Yeah.
And when Ghanaian artists work with him,
yeah,
they tend to break some boundaries.
Correct.
Compared to when they work with some of the Ghanaian promoters. You agree?
I agree, and that's good. That's very good. Again, it's good for the culture. You are taking it to the next level, but don't dismiss what's been done before. You get me? Do not dismiss what has been done before. Take it to the next level. Take it to the highest level. I'm happy for that. But when you start to dismiss what has been done, that's a problem. Yes, you're giving Ghanaian artists a better exposure. There's nothing wrong with that. Ghanaian artists deserve more. And if you have got the chance, the platform, the connections with all the big investors out there, use it to your strength. Don't be punching at Ghanaian promoters who we've used our own private, personal money, family money to be doing what we're doing. That's an insult.
Talking about personal money, there was a time you, 2023, you had an event and you made a huge loss.
Heavy loss.
How much did you lose in it?
About 400K.
Pounds.
No cedis, no US dollars, pounds. Just like that. Ghana Partner Park to 2023. Unfortunately for us, there was an amber warning in the UK, basically a day before the festival. And the amber warning was severe. So we had no option than to cancel the show. We cancelled it less than 8 hours to the show, which was even a bit of a worry for ourselves and the local authority and the police, because a show that is starting at 12 noon and at 8 p.m. the day before, we've had to cancel the show.
Wow.
One, we were worried about people turning up. We were worried about security and everything else. But one thing I will say about Akwaaba, we have a very strong data. Our database is priceless. We managed, within that same night, we managed to contact almost everybody and let them know, look, the event is not happening any longer due to the bad weather. I mean, you live in the UK, all you have to do is go on the news and you see this what was happening. The decision was taken very late because we wanted to give ourselves all the possible chance to make sure this event could go ahead. Artists are in town, food vendors are there preparing their food. We're doing sound check. We're going through all the normal stuff just before a big event. And then at 8:20, alas, health and safety says, no, you can't go ahead with the event. At the time, I didn't think of the money. I was thinking about what I need to do and how I'm going to be able to put the show back on again.
Right.
Which I did within a period of 3 weeks, put the show back on again. Now, after the second show, after the rescheduling of the show, that's when I started thinking of the money that I've lost. I put the two shows together and I realized that 400K is just gone down the drain. Because you have to service your sponsors. You have to issue ticket refunds. And then you got to put the show back on again at exactly the same cost as the previous one.
Wow.
But some of the artists as well, I must mention the name, but they were brilliant. Some of the, especially R2Bs, they decided to stay with me in London through the whole time to support. I mean, there's other artists as well, Kwame MP, VIP. The artists also play their role. You know, it's not always us and them as sometimes it looks like. They stayed and then did what they had to do. We rescheduled the events and it went ahead. But a few weeks later on, and even till now, I still think about the money.
Yeah. I can imagine. Throughout your years of doing events, what has been your biggest regret?
Not owning a lot of things. Because, like I said, when you start thinking of the stories and things that's been done, let's just talk about December in Ghana. A lot of people will think December in Ghana only started because of Year of Return, but that's not the case. A lot of people will put December or what is actually happening right now to Dirty December, but that's not the case. there was a group of people that started this, and we should have maybe documented it or something. But those are some of the regrets that I've had thinking about it, because I look at the contributions again. Everywhere I go, I'm with my children, my kids, and people are saying, "Oh, your dad did this, your dad did that, your dad." And I'm like, children, I feel like I've let you down because you don't really know my story. I keep saying that to them. I feel like I've let you down. It's taking other people to tell you. But I've never been that way anyway. I'm like, I just go with the flow. But now life has taught me that you got to.
I just go with the flow. Yes, I figured it out.
Yeah.
You had no plan. The only thing you wanted to do was just play football.
Correct.
And then you dropped out of school because you didn't like staying in school.
Correct.
Then you've created this.
Yeah.
So my question was actually going to be, are you truly happy with the path you have taken, even though it wasn't planned?
Yes, I am. I'm not disappointed at all. I am. I'm happy he's giving me a beautiful family. I'm happy my kids are now seeing it, because at the time, obviously, I didn't have kids, but now my kids are seeing what I've done. And from within, some of my peers, they give me the credit. In fact, some of them say, look, you need to speak up. You need to own half of what is happening, because in a few years' time, nobody is going to know what we're going through. Africans in the UK, what we're enjoying right now, nobody's going to know what you did, the contributions, how you had to get African music being played on mainstream radio, which broke the camel's back. People don't know that. I showed the cassette to my son. He was like, wow, he hasn't even seen a cassette before. Yeah, he has not seen a cassette before. And I showed him, I got a pen and put it in the middle of the cassette, and I was rewinding. I said, these are, but these are lessons for him to know. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I made some of those mistakes because I was just going with the flow. And I'm not proud of it, but what can I do?
There's a cost to not being intentional about things, isn't it?
Oh yeah, heavy cost, because somebody else will come and tell the story. Other people will take the credit. Other people will sit down and tell you you've been lazy. Other people will tell you that you've been lazy. Do you know how that hurts? For me, Akwaaba, 90%, we've not had that privilege.
Why haven't you? You've been in all the rooms.
Yeah.
From record label rooms to radio stations, pluggers.
Yeah.
You've been in the rooms.
Yeah.
So why haven't Akwaaba, as a company, even one of your events, Ghana Party in the Park, gotten support from these big companies?
We tried with Ghana Party in the Park. We did have a very good interest. And also we had a very good offer for Ghana Party in the Park. This was COVID came into the scene whilst the discussion was going on. We started discussion January, March. COVID is coming, and then the conversation died down. But we had a very good offer on the table for Ghana Party in the Park, and I was willing to sell at the time. I was, but other options came to the partners. They had other options to go for, so I had to carry on with Ghana Party in the Park. And the way I also say what made me carry on is like, it's still giving different generation. So many people have come through Ghana Party in the Park. So many people have been to Ghana Party in the Park. I go out, I see Expert, and I see people even at big record labels, where from Sony Music and everything else, people at big position, they used to come to Ghana Party in the Park. Some of the conversation I have with people, there are laws of well-known Ghanaians are high position right now in the music industry. They've all come through Ghana Party in the Park. But I'm not going to sit down here and blame myself. I'm not going to be hard on myself. I'm disappointed I didn't reach those heights with Ghana Party in the Park. Because it's a big brand. It's a very, very big brand. 20 years without a fail. Win, lose, draw, whatever it may be, Ghana Party in the Park still. So,
is there an aspect of you that didn't put your business cap on early enough?
Yes. And I think that's me in general. I think I matured very late. Maturity came to me very late. And I think it's the same thing as business. But now I'm surrounded with some good people. If you look at December in Ghana right now, I have a partner here in Ghana, DJ Mensa, bringing brilliant ideas. I have a full team here in Ghana that they're ready to take it to the next level. And I'm happy for that. as an OG, I could just use my experience.
If you really think about it, during those times, what were the reasons why you didn't want to allow business to come in very quickly?
I wanted business to come in, but business wasn't coming. I mean, look, let's be frank. A lot of our Ghanaian business at the time, we're not comfortable with the entertainment scene. I mean, even here in Ghana, I know that you had to take some of the telco company like MTN and Vodafone to actually invest heavily into Ghana Music Award. Big shout to Charterhouse. They were doing what they were doing. Doing various Ghanaian music awards. I'm sure to whatever revenue they got. But then when corporate came in, come on, you saw the beauty of what Ghana Music Awards was doing. You saw the beauty of what Charterhouse and all the various companies. I say to friends of mine, I love what corporate is doing, especially here in Ghana. If I mentioned Charterhouse, I'm going to mention Echo House. They do Tidal Rave. If you see how banks are getting involved, drinks company, telco companies, they are getting involved. In the UK, we don't get that. Obviously, in the UK, the Ghanaian community plays a very small percentage. So I can't go to Barclays Bank. I can't go to NatWest Bank. I can't go to... Although all of them have corporate community responsibilities. All of these people, you go to them, you don't get a far. So,
but were you actually willing to partner initially?
Oh yeah, I was.
You were open to the idea?
I was 100% open to the idea, because when I seek sponsorship from the likes of Western Union and MoneyGram at the time, you're smiling. Yes, it takes you back. To me, I wish they even did more. They did more for us, don't get me wrong, but I wish they did more. And I liked what a lot of the company and some of the business people are doing right now. It's something I wish 10, 15 years ago I had it. I would have done more, and I would have done more, and I would have done better.
So I was speaking to one of my friends yesterday, David, and he says something that really hit me. He says, a lot of us Ghanaians don't like systems thinking. We just like to do things. Mostly, sometimes it looks like it's ego.
Our default settings is something we picked up with,
Yeah. So you come, for example, you go to a church right now. His example was really sweet. He goes, you walk into a church and the usher says, please sit here. And you start looking funny.
Yeah.
Because you've spotted somewhere you want to sit. But for the church and for her, she's thinking, this is going to align with the camera position. But because we don't like systems thinking.
I think we don't like system thinking. And also, some of us, including myself, we were scared for change. Change is good. Honestly, change is good. Change is very good. So at the end of the day, I think we should have allowed change. But look, it is what it is.
At some point, you did a show for an artist, Bisakede.
Correct.
It was in Camden.
Camden Town, or one of the greatest show I've done. I put it as one of the greatest show I've done. I put it. It's not only because I remember it just like that. The ticket sales, the speed in which the ticket moved, and I should have thought better about the venue, the choice of venue. Bisakeda was on the high. I mean, extremely high. The location was good, but also I must say to our defense, at the time of doing Bisakede, the Black community in the UK, especially the nightlife, we're also experiencing a challenge whereby to go to certain venues or to book certain venues, we're not being allowed because there's various incidents happening at most of the venues. So there's a new system that came in. You have to do what you call a 696, meaning a risk assessment of everybody who's going to come to the event, especially the DJs. You've got to put their names down. Because let's be honest, there was a knife culture. People go to the clubs, they were fighting, bottles. It was becoming nasty. So we were all put in one bracket. So sometimes when you go to some of these venues you want to use, in fact, Bisakede, I wanted to use a venue called Scala, which is not far from Scala in King's Cross, which is not far from the Camden Hall. But when I went there, they said, no, they don't want to do a black event. What do I do? So I had to look for the next alternative, and that was the hall.
Before the event, then we had a chat, and then I told him that, look, this venue we really should have pushed for a bigger venue.
Yeah.
And we got to the venue and there were over 200 people outside. Inside was jam-packed.
We could have sold that event twice.
I'm telling you.
We could have sold that event.
But are these part of sometimes are these part of the your challenge with change when you are maybe approaching an artist? Are these sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I'm very
risk.
Yeah, that one is always in the back of mind. But again, I will say that that's a mistake I've done. You got to be able to make mistakes to be able to correct them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be too hard on myself when I think of the challenge I faced at the time. Would I have done better? Yes. Can I do better? Yes. In life, you can always do better. But what was facing me at the time, you had to put on Bisake Day. Everybody wanted to see Bisake Day, both in Europe and various parts of the world. Mansa, brother, come on, hits. I had to do something, or if not, let the time go. You cannot recall time.
Right.
You cannot recall time. You got to deal with it now. So everything I've done at the time, I'm happy for whatever decision I took. Some of them have been mistakes, and I've learned from them.
If you are recounting, let's say you are 90 years old and you are recollecting memories, and you are like, I could have done that better, I could have done better. Give me one example.
I think one major example I should have been able to get more people involved in most of the stuff I've done. I should have, some of the artists I've worked with as well, I think I should have had a better understanding with them. I've worked with a lot of artists, some of them personal friends, some of them they don't even speak to you because things didn't go their way, things didn't go our way. And definitely one of the things, I think the most important thing, I think I should have worked smarter alongside some of my promotional partners like Alodia, West Coast, even DJ Abaitey when he became a promoter stroke DJs. If I looked at some of the mistakes we did, we wasted money that we didn't have. We wasted money by competing against each other when we could have actually worked smarter.
There were times when we had about 3 Ghana Independence Day. When we could have done it big.
We could have done it big.
Yeah. But what were some of the things stopping you from doing that?
Some is our ego, our pride. But then again, I always say to myself, we don't all have the same mobile phone. You might have a Samsung, I might have a Nokia. You may shop in Sainsbury's, I may shop in Tesco's. It's the same thing. Competition is healthy, don't get me wrong. That's what it was at the time. We were competing against it. There's a community, there's a pool there. Go and market to them and get what you are to get. But if I think about it now, like you say, some of the things I think we could have done better, which in a way we are correcting some of them. I work very closely with Alodia. I work very closely with West Coast. I get on well with Abaitey. So
I was having a discussion with someone who said that Ghana Party in the Park should have been like wireless today.
100% agree. 100% agree. I think I got to be careful here. If there was a time we wanted to take away the Ghana elements.
Yep. I just thought about it.
Yeah. There was a time we wanted to cross the Ghana out of it.
Yeah, and make it
because
Party in the Park.
Yeah. It's not only just Ghanaians that come to Ghana Party in the Park. But then there was another situation whereby the Ghanaian community, 80% of them, which is the niche market, are the ones that come into the event. So if you take Ghana away from it, what happens next? That's a business decision I had to take. But when the offer came in the year 2020, I was happy to take away the Ghana. I'm sure had COVID not come in, it would still not be Ghana Party in the Park. It would have a different title to it. But yeah, that discussion did happen. But then again, that's wrong of me. Maybe thinking Ghana, everything I do, Ghana, Akwaaba, Ghana. All the titles of most of my events is all Ghana. Everything is Ghana related. Majority of the stuff I've
People usually say Ghana starts it,
and
then our neighbors take it.
Yeah. I mean, Ghana, we tend to start a lot of things. We don't own it, and then somebody else will take it better. And I'm part of the system that got it wrong, I have to say.
You've worked with the likes of legend Daddy Lumba. What was your experience working with them?
Oh, difficult. Charles was very difficult to work with.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Konnected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
I've done 3 shows with Daddy Lumba, all in the UK. The 4th show I was just about to do with him, I can't remember the year, but just again, with a day or 2 to go, he called me to say he's not coming. Just like that. Your money is ready, come and pick up your money.
Refund?
Yeah, he gave me the money. By that time, I've already made a heavy loss. I remember it very well. And it was no fault of mine. There was no fault of mine. I tried. Look, I went that far. I remember we went that far as calling Asante to intervene. That's because people have bought tickets to come to the show. We called Kwame Despite to intervene. We called, I think we even had time, we were ready to reach to the president's office just to ask Daddy Lumba to come. Yeah.
And he never came, even though you reached out to people, he still didn't come?
Yeah, still didn't come.
Any reason?
Yeah, one member of his team didn't get their visas, their traveling visa. Yeah. It was a 8-piece band at the time he was traveling with, and then the other 2 would join them. I think one is coming from Germany, and another from Holland, so it would have been 10-piece band. But one of the key members here wasn't issued on the visa. The rest of them was issued the visas, okay.
How did it make you feel?
Sad. But those are the kind of challenges we go through.
You expected this to happen?
When it comes to promotion, I expect anything. Honestly, I've been through a lot that I expect anything, yes. Was I surprised at the time? No. This is Daddy Lumba. Daddy Lumba is somebody, when I was doing the shows in the past, I know we always laugh about it, but I prefer to be in the next hotel room. If this is his hotel room, I prefer to be in the next room, just to make sure he's going to turn up. Daddy Lumba would be staying in Germany, and it may become the day of the show. No, I had a chance of hosting him when Abin Waha was at his peak. I hosted him at Stratford Rex, myself and my very good friend Richmond, and the wife Mavis. I remember that whole week, back and forth, but it took over my life. We've sold tickets. It's been sold out. Now we need to even convince ourselves that Lumba is going to come. We need to convince ourselves. I've not heard from Lumba for almost 2 weeks. Yeah. In the long run, I picked up a flight, went to Germany the day before. Whilst I was in Germany, only to be called by Richmond to say, Daddy Lumba is in London, He hasn't called me. He was in London. It was with one of his family members in London. I had to fly back again. Yeah. He took me through a lot. So I met him just before, obviously, the sad passing away. I had a chat with him. We talked about it as well. And he was very happy with me in the way that, look, Denny, you did your best, I know I gave you a hard time, but, it comes with it. It comes with it. And I was thinking at the time, he's a legend. What can you do? There's 2 things you got to consider when you do it. Working with legends and also working with superstar. The first superstar, Ghanaian superstar I worked with was TikTok. At the time, TikTok was big. It was, it was a superstar. And I'm like, sometimes you have to do what they want you to do just to make sure you get the events going. But yeah, it was difficult.
Because there were times when you guys would promote an event, especially at Stratford Rex, and then the artists will not show up.
Will not show up. Yeah. And it's happened quite a lot of times.
And as a business person, like, you're thinking to yourself, how do you make the money back? And the disappointments.
Disappointment, the fans, the community, and they look at you. Even now, people even sit and say to me, people talk about, I should know better, I should do better. But some of the things are beyond our control. You can apply for a visa for an artist, and it can get refused. And it doesn't only happen within the Ghanaian community. It happens everywhere. I've been to big R&B shows where artists have been refused visas before. Disappointment do happen. We had a cancellation of one party in the park. Everybody's blaming me because of this bad weather. I'm sorry, last year, Everton and Liverpool were playing a football match in Merseyside. The match was supposed to kick off at 12 o'clock. 8 a.m., the match is being cancelled because of bad weather. You didn't hear people complaining about it. Let it be our community. Things happen. It's Mother Nature. What can you do? Not everything is always our fault. Some things happen whereby, and you're dealing with an artist as well, that based on how he's feeling, it's going his own mood swing. How he's feeling, you have to massage that. You have to have that in your mind. The artist's ego, how they're feeling. You got, as a promoter, you be prepared to manage an artist's feeling. It's not about the money. It's how you treat them. And if an artist say no, they're not coming, they put out a statement. It doesn't matter what you, the promoter, do. What you say, it does not matter. Artist is always right, and that's something I've learned to live with. There's times that people are having a go at me. Akwaaba, you should know better. Dennis, you should know better. And I say to myself, what can I do? But yeah, it's a sad situation. But I'm happy, the privilege that I've worked with him on different occasions. So I also cherish that as well. And he's been a great artist for the nation and even beyond. For African music, and Daddy Lumba has been excellent. May he so rest in peace.
Yeah, may he so rest in peace. Fundamentally, do you truly believe that, as far as putting on a show is concerned, you've done your absolute best for our Ghanaian music culture?
I've done my best. And now whoever people that are doing what they're doing now, I think they're even going to do better. I think so. With the right investment, people will do better.
There are conversations that sometimes when the event doesn't come your way, then some of you and your friends try to sabotage it.
That's not true. That's never true. I've never in my life tried to sabotage another person's event. Never. People that are close to me I always focus on myself, biting up my own corner. Let me tell you something. There was a period of time for about a good 6 years whereby Akwaaba was going up against Choice FM and DJ Abaitey when it comes to Ghana independence or Ghana-related events.
Yeah.
Obviously, Abaitey and Choice FM had the upper hand because they are the establishment.
Yeah.
Akwaaba was not the establishment. Whatever came against us, we made sure we did what we had to do to put the event on. It's not about sabotaging anybody. No, I just don't have it in me to do that. I rather concentrate on what I need to do and do it better. And that's one of the strengths I've always had. Brighten up my lane. This vision I've got, I know how to look after myself and do what I need to do. And I also believe in what I've done in the past and the goodwill I've created. So I think it's just people's mindset. They create that, that's not the case. Who am I? Nah, it's just that those people that say that, or certain people that say that, they know. At the end of the day, some of them, they're not even truthful to this. They'll come and speak to me, collect my ideas, read my mind. Then the next thing you know, they're doing a similar thing. They don't talk about it. Yeah, that's happened a lot.
Mr. Tawiah, thank you so much. Is there anything that I could have asked you that I have not?
No, I'm happy.
I appreciate your time today. And usually we ask a few questions in the end. However, because of the nature of this conversation, more of personality than learning. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate. And I hope the Akwaaba group becomes bigger than how we see it. And if you've been listening and you've been watching, thank you so much for being a part of the family. My name is Derrick, and we have been speaking with Mr. Dennis Tawiah on Konnected Minds. If you made it to the end, please make a comment in the descriptions because I'd love to know. And share this to a friend who wants to hear about the Akwaaba group and the story of our man here. Thank you. I'm out.